The Ensemble podcast is intended for professional financial advisors. This content is created in partnership with our sponsor, Net Wealth Investments Limited, ABN 85090 569 109, AFSL 230975, and is limited to publicly available information. Before acting on any general advice, you should consider whether appropriate and obtain financial advice from a qualified financial advisor. Ensemble does not hold an AFS license and does not provide any financial advice or services or endorse any general advice. If a PDS or IM exists, you should obtain a copy and review it thoroughly before making a decision.
AdviceTech. As if it wasn't enough to be across TMDs, Alpha, Beta, Rule of 72, and all the other nuances of financial advice. Now, advisors are expected to be across all the technology options too, and there's so many of them. But never fear, Peita D is here. Join me each week on a journey of discovery through the software and apps on offer for advisors and advice businesses. So let's dive in, fellow advice explorers.
This podcast is proudly sponsored by NetWealth. Imagine a world of investment choice that goes beyond borders. Open up a world of investment opportunity with NetWealth, where you can access local and international securities, as well as bonds and foreign currency options for wholesale clients. Offer your clients flexibility, transparency, and efficiency, with managed accounts, managed funds, and access to non-custodial assets. A world of investment awaits you. Discover it at netwealth.com.au/woo.
Hello and welcome to the Ensemble AdviceTech podcast. I'm Peita Diamantidis, and the guest joining me here today to deep dive into Scientiam is, well, has a puppy dog in the background, clearly, because I can hear the dog. I love it.
Sorry, Peita.
Not at all. I love it. My dog, luckily...
thinking she would bark at the door because she'd hear me because...
That is the best beginning ever, because my dog Chewy manages to sit quietly through most, but then he starts snoring and I always wonder if it's going to get loud. Oh, this is a fantastic intro. I love it. So he is a fellow Macquarie University alumni like myself, also the MD of a financial advisory and accounting practice. However, clearly decided that just didn't keep him busy enough, is because he's also become a tech founder, just to, make sure his days are filled. Thank you so much for joining me on the show, Nigel Baker. Woo! Welcome.
Great to be here, Peita. Thanks for having me. What an intro.
I reckon that might win for me out of the 40-something episodes we have. Not at all. Puppies are always welcome on the podcast. So before we pick your brain about all things Scientiam, let's just get to know you a bit better through your use of technology. Now, emojis are the thing, right? What is your most used emoji? Do you even use emojis?
Yeah, well, look, it has to be just a simple thumbs up. That's got to be the most used. But, I don't mind the odd exclamation mark, or I guess the occasional love heart as well,
Yeah, okay. But the simple stuff. We like
Nothing
the simple communication.
I'm not into the fancy, drop down and find all these other sort of images. That gets a bit too complicated.
No problem. And so, look, we now all live with our smartphones almost permanently attached to us, some of us on our wrists, I guess. If you had to get rid of everything on your smartphone and just keep 3 of the apps, which of them would you keep?
Well, I've got 3 children who have got busier lives than I do, and their school apps are quite phenomenal, actually. So I couldn't live without the school app, so I know what's going on, what events are on this weekend, all the updates to the various dance and sporting things. So that'd be number one. If I didn't have this sports app and I was able to, the school apps for all their activities, and I'd be trying to juggle 3 of them around. So, yeah, that's number one. Spotify, of course, number 2, listening to your podcast and many others.
Thank you.
I've become a real, obviously, a podcast listener, and I think that's been a great innovation in the last couple of years and great way to learn and keep on top of things. So,
yeah, for sure.
And then, just WhatsApp, million WhatsApp chats. I just need a WhatsApp chat to run the WhatsApp chat, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. My most frustrating thing actually is I wish Spotify had a way that as you're in the middle of something, like in the car, I'm listening to a podcast, because most of the time it's passive listening, isn't it? It's like background listening. But then you think, oh, that's a good idea. And I need to be able to press a button to send myself like a message, like a voice message or something. Go, Peita, remember these 3 points, because that's the most frustrating thing for me, is moving from passive listening into quick, remind yourself to do something when you're listening to a podcast.
That's a really good idea. That's you got that down. It's true, isn't it? You try to remember it and try to jot it down or text it to yourself or something like that.
Exactly. Like, please remember to do this. All right, let's dive into Scientiam. I came across you guys at the Advisor Innovation Summit, which we both attended in the last few weeks in Sydney and Melbourne. And I was really fascinated by both the tool itself, but the reason it came up for you, like the reason that you've embarked on this. So to begin with, in case somebody, listening isn't aware of your app, then just at a high level, where does it sit in the AdviceTech space? Like, who is it lined up again? What category does it sit in?
Yeah, Peter, well, we started this because we're advisors like you are running an advice business, and we wanted to solve that problem for the younger sort of intergen type clients to start with. That's where this journey started, to say, how do we find a digital, more interesting solution for this next generation of clients coming through? I suppose where it's evolved is that, what does the future of advice look like? And we started to really think about, well, shouldn't we be thinking about this digital journey for all clients? And yes, it's start with those clients that perhaps didn't fit the mold for the traditional advice practice, and but started to look at, well, shouldn't we be able to offer a service to all types of clients in the new world? That's where we got to. Yeah.
Now, when you look on your website, the words like portal and everything appear, but having seen you present now and doing some digging, it's a portal in that you're logging into something, but it's not just like it's not a document hold, or not this thing that's passive. So talk us through actually what the client then is experiencing or seeing when they're logging into the tool.
Yeah, we had this crazy idea to make it really sort of education based. So really just strip out the product and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, we know there's product at the end of the day, but how do we put the client first and flip it around and say, what would a client use on this, and what are they looking for? And all the data and research is showing that, particularly younger, but I'm finding older clients as well, are really after that sort of short, sharp information, whether it's video and be able to be intuitive and be able to engage with that and do a bit of their own learning and research online before they come in for a meeting or before they engage with you. And so we wanted to make that, portal as a word, really something that they can engage with and sort of self-help. So the first step is they effectively self-help, and then they can take a pathway and start to go down a journey and go, okay, I'm on the self-help stage and that's great, but now I do want to get some basic advice and then maybe evolve into full advice down the track.
Okay.
So effectively that funnel could be done online.
So then from a practice's sense, if they're sort of putting this in, like you say, their engagement funnel way out from somebody who's maybe what we would call not ready for advice, right? That's sort of the category we're talking about, whether that's because of age or all sorts of things. Then it's a way that they can self-serve on some content, maybe even like a little bit of a program style. Is that what you mean? So it's like some sort of delivery of some content that they can learn and engage with. And then eventually, is there also the possibility of them doing, so I'm betting that there's like, they can do that for free. It could be a paid program. It could be like, how are the different ways they can engage with the platform?
Yeah, we built it to be, so it's a platform that the advisory firm or the actually uses white labels for their service. So they can, for example, a client that might not be ready yet, but is just checking them out, they can offer that to them for free and say, look, there's some content on here. You can attend a course, you can attend one of our regular updates, you can go and see our most recent videos, read a few articles, leave 3 or 4 articles up there. So they get a bit of a feel for you in a bit of a digital format. They start to see you as a person, some of your videos, and then they can book in a session, like a 10, 15 minute, half an hour session. It's all within the site, so they're not leaving and going out to Zoom or Teams or anything like that. Yep. And then the advisor can obviously then have that quick chat and guide them and get an understanding of, are they after full advice? Are they just looking to learn a bit more about savings, etc.? But I suppose for us, two-way is the client's getting a good experience, but the advisor starting to build that relationship, and that relationship might take a couple of years for that client to come through, or they could be ready in the next month to start the process. So rather than not have anything at all and say, well, traditionally advice practices, because that's where the revenue was, and people run businesses to make money. We admit that, but also because of a law. So then there was a regulation saying, well, we can't really help this cohort of clients, so let's just keep focusing on these complex high net worth clients, and that's great. But so therefore, most advisory businesses only have really one solution. They're one offering, which is cool, but how do we bring that down and say you can offer something to other clients, and you can do it in a really economical way, a really low cost way for the business, but also something that's really economical and at a low price point for the prospect that can start to build that longer term relationship and give them access to some quality information and some quality advisors. We're advisors, we believe in
Yeah.
advice, but we know that advisors can't help thousands of clients in the current business model.
Right. And it's a really interesting thing to force yourself to think through, because we're so used to starting at the point of advice, right? So it's like they're ready for advice and they've said yes, and then we build everything after that. Whereas most offerings, like if you come up with any new, like as a consultant or an entrepreneur, most offerings, they spend most of their effort on the before that point, because they acknowledge that's the hard task. That's the part of getting them in the funnel and even self-qualifying. And I think that could be an interesting thing to use this for, is letting the client qualify for themselves if they need assistance, and if you find you could have that sort of self-qualifying experience, we're talking like a program, it takes them through some steps or whatever it might be that, like you say, could be free. At the end of that, even if the answer isn't advice, you could set up a call, like you say, for 10 or 15 minutes with each of them. And if you start collecting why that's the case, why they're not ready for advice, what they need right then you could just build another program that answers that challenge. It could even be a low dollar. It could be a few $100s, and you've put another one in Scientiam that answers that challenge. And at least they're getting a solution. Maybe it's not advice, but they're getting value.
Yeah, and that's what we're trying to say. How do we give value to this cohort of people who don't need full advice but would like to engage in some way or format? And we don't really change our thinking around that. As you said, it's not starting with advice. It's starting with a journey and trying to remove all that. We know what's happened in the past and all the regs, and we're saying that it's got to be compliant, but you've got to start to think about, what is the client, what do they want to see? They want to start to build a relationship and get some information. And as you said, self-test themselves and do a course and say, I can see the benefit of advice. I'm ready for it, or no, I can work this out online. Thanks, but I'm willing to pay you a couple of $100 a year to be, in the system and getting some content. So there's just different ways I think we've got to think about serving these people, because we can't give full complex advice to millions of people, but we can certainly give people access to quality information and quality advice, quality advisors.
Insight,
and that's where we want people to go. We don't want them searching and doing Google searches of people who are unqualified and doing the wrong thing, right, and getting caught up with scams or who knows what.
Exactly. I remember I was actually preparing for a presentation to the industry, and, we use analogies for what we do, and, advisors might be like the GP or they might be like the specialist, all that sort of stuff. Yeah. And I just run some concepts past this person who's outside the industry, and they're like, Peter, I just got to call you out on something. I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, well, based on the dollars and the experience and all the stuff you guys do, you guys are more like neurosurgeons and what we need are the normal specialists or the GP. And it's an interesting analogy where what we haven't built is all those things in between.
Yeah, that's
before they need to get to the neurosurgeon that's going to charge them thousands of dollars. So it's it really clarified for me. I'm like, we're missing this. There's this big gap, and if they don't get it from us, there's all sorts of places they're going to get information from that won't necessarily help them out.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is a struggle. So in terms of the practices that this works well for, I'm really curious of where you've seen this tool really hum versus others that may struggle. Is there anything they've either done beforehand or ways they've implemented it that just really ramped up the experience? Yeah,
it's good question. I think you tend to get the owner or the leader of the business who's a little bit more wanting to take on new ideas and gets excited. And I'm one of those and sees the shiny light. This is great. And then they come into the business and then great, we've got this new idea, go work it out. So we found early on that we needed to get to the, to the advisors or the managers and get to the people who are actually going to be hand-holding this, because they need to sort of, obviously understand how to explain to the clients and what their offering now is and that sort of thing. So certainly a learning path for us being we've been traditional advisors our lives, suddenly getting a neck out into a tech world and how can people use it and seeing things from our perspective, but also seeing how other businesses could use things. So certainly that experience of getting involved with the team, understanding how it benefits their clients, how it benefits them, how people are a little bit afraid of technology, as you know, so a little bit afraid of change. And as you said, that we've been so trained to go, no, I can only talk about advice, and if I don't, it's advice or nothing. And trying to change that mindset, be going, but you're allowed to. The law completely says you're allowed to talk about factual information as much as you like, and we want you talking about it. We don't want the guy at the service station talking about super, not super petrol, but superannuation. We want you being the conduits of this information. So, yes, there's some boundaries and you just use some common sense and some compliance guidelines around at what point you need to engage from a personal advice point of view under the current rules. But you can really extend your knowledge under the current legislation without it causing any problems. And I think people just need to get comfortable with that. And in fact, I think that's what the regulators would like to see.
Yeah, without a doubt. And I think we do get caught up in, understandably, the legislation's there. We get why it's there. In fact, with some of the challenges with, crypto for influencers and all that sort of stuff, you can see why they want to protect this sort of stuff, because they can go pear-shaped when they don't. But I agree with you that probably the skill that I don't think advisors realise they do and realise you can convert or amplify is that coaching element. It's not the technical advice element. There's a lot of emotional and transformational coaching we do, and that stuff's perfect for programs and giving them things to do and things to learn and all sorts of stuff that we repeat it enough. We know what people go through, and so, you could have a couple of different ones that you set up based on where they're at, or what experiencing they have or what challenges they're facing, and particularly for your niche. It would be so cool if advisors, maybe they're into, I don't know, maybe they themselves do marathons internationally. Well, how can you afford to do three international marathons a year? Like, you could do all sorts of interesting programs that really engage people that you're not going to do advice on. Like, you're not going to charge somebody $5,500 for an advice on, but what a great engagement tool that actually gives them something they want. I think it's a clever way to approach. So then, is the tool, and excuse my ignorance for this question, is it an actual app that they download onto their phone, or is it a login, a web portal? It's
a web portal. So the we call it a tenant. It's just our internal word. Each firm gets built out a tenant, which is their branded site. And so it's like a little website. Our website just embeds into their current website. It looks and feels like it's just part of their current website, but they can set a client up on there. They can just guide the client to the link. And they can obviously see all that activity. They can see one of the other benefits we've found is that you can see all that activity of what people are watching and listening. So you might find that a topic on interest rates, obviously right now, is really important, but you can really see how much people are engaging that, and it's sort of UI driven, a bit like a Facebook. So that if I'm on there and I've already attended a session on interest rates and I've read another article on interest rates, guess what? The next thing that happens, I'm going to get fed all the interest rate stuff. So that advisor or expert is talking about that, I'm going to start to engage with that advisor because they're lining up with what I'm interested in. So it's more than likely I'm going to book a session with that advisor. She's already done 2 sessions that I've attended. She's really an expert. I can see that I'm liking the sound of her expertise, and bang, I book a time in, and then that advisor or expert will then guide me and say, yeah, great, stay on the portal, self-help. I can give you some limited advice, or hey, you sound like we could really help you. Come in for a full advice session, which can be still digital or in person. Yeah. Okay. So it just gives those pathway options. And engaging so that content can be driven by the firm. Obviously, some of the firms want us to help them get set up with that, which we do, and we provide those building blocks. But then off they go. They can build out that content how they please.
Okay, because that was my next question is I'd imagine there'd be some advisors out there like, that sounds fantastic. Oh, my God, how much content am I going to create? And like, right?
Yeah, so. That's right. Anything like it is very easy to use, but we've got a library now of so much stuff that we can say you can have all this. You just it's all going to look like and feel like you, but you can just take all the current stuff and start to just use that. And going forward as well, if they're a smaller firm, obviously that's just another thing they have to do. So they can just piggyback on the back of what we're pushing out. They can pick and choose obviously what they like, but some of the bigger firms obviously want to create their own content. A lot of them have a fair bit of content, but it's all over the place. It's not consistent. It's on an email system. They might have a YouTube channel going. It's all over that, and they can't track from one to the other. So this also brings all that data together, and you can see who's attending what, and nice. which experts are. You can monetize that as well. So sessions can be charged on as well for people to attend. So it's pretty cool.
And is there, just on that, so in terms of being able to charge people, is there the ability, say, for example, I could see an environment where you might want your clients to be able to see, attend for free, but hey, it'd be nice if for that event somebody was charged because they're external. Is that possible to find a way to do that?
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. So it's either a free session or chargeable, but you give your clients the code. So it's just a discount code or a free code to log in.
Because it's an interesting habit too that I got hauled up on by overseas. They're like an entrepreneur online, and they do all sorts of stuff and sell their programs. And they said the mistake most people make for their free stuff is not making sure everybody knows what it's worth if they did have to pay.
Yeah.
Like we just go, but it's free. And it's like, well, no. It's worth $400, but it's free is actually the statement you need to make.
That's a really good question. Like, and I think that's, we got to have value to stuff, right? Like, and so you've got to, it's nice to say to people, look, these sessions we think, well, they're worth $30, $40, $100, but hey, you're getting it for free because you're already a client. That's But that way, if they're referring someone in, or whatever the case may be, there's an expectation, there's a price for that because there's value in the content and the time behind it. Yeah.
Exactly. And look, a particular practice might decide that each client can even invite a guest if they want to. They might see this as a lead generation exercise, and you're going to charge, but always, contemplating if we did charge, what would it be, just so that you make sure you assign value. I like doing that too because it forces me to make sure it's worth that. It sort of makes me lift my game a little. Am I putting enough value in this? So that then I'd be happy for somebody to have paid that, and I would be comfortable with that. So yeah, I'm right there with you. So in terms of, you get the white label for the practice, then it can have some content you guys already have in. However, over time, potentially they can, do their own thing. I like the idea of then having it very clear and easy that they can then make a time with an advisor. It's not something they've then got to proactively call in or do something different. It's all within the portal.
You just click
which
in,
makes a difference.
Yeah, it's all linked to the calendar, so it just syncs to your Outlook or whichever calendar system you use. So that way it's pretty nice and seamless. Yeah, you're not having to then go, now we've got to start this email chain or whatever and lose them. Yeah.
Exactly. And so do you find then, though, that really once they're a client, then for the advice process that is not occurring in the portal, that's occurring elsewhere, or is there documents or anything interchanging within the portal itself?
Yeah, there's the courses can be look, I'd like to now. You can embed your fact find and risk profile questionnaire into it just by adding a link. So you can have a course on saying, right, now you're ready for advice. Complete course 121, which is complete the fact find, and you have a little video in there and say, hey, no, thanks, Peita, you're ready to start the advice process. First thing I need you to do is fill in these forms. Here they are, the link, and it can link straight to your CRM. So some people have used Padua, for example. Some have used just HubSpot and just embedded that link in. So that data is going straight through, and then they'll use that in their whatever software they use for creating the next step advice and as their CRM. So that's totally buildable within it. We're not an SOA builder. Like we're not trying to say we're going to provide the SOA, but you can certainly link that data form into whoever you're using. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. I'm assuming though it's not like a chat function within it, is there?
You can chat. Yeah,
you can chat.
There's a little chat. It's not as used as much as we thought it would be, but there is a chat function.
Okay. So if somebody is trying to, you and I both witnessed a cybersecurity session at the Advisor Innovation Summit where, trying to get off email as much as humanly possible. So if you did have a client and you are using this for some of the elements of the advice, like you say, the fact find and other things, maybe even understanding risk profiles, whatever it might be, then they could be talking within the portal advisor to client.
Yeah, it's all within the system, so they don't leave it. The messaging system is all in there, tied to their account. So I thought you meant like a little random chat, like a chat bot. It is personalized, so it'll go from me to the advisor and back and forward, and so it's almost like a little Slack system that I can chat to the advisor about. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, that's a good thing because we are all looking for those options, aren't we? Like it's all well and good to say we should get off email. But we need an alternative. Yeah. How else do we chat to people? Okay. So a practice could be starting this with some of this content, but they could work towards actually sort of really embedding it into the advice process if they wanted to get really clever.
They can. Yeah. What we've found is people start with we go down that sort of funnel and start with the clients that, again, you asked before about the businesses that start to take it on board and go, we'd love to have a solution for these younger future clients that are being referred by their parents. So we want to make sure we capture something. They start that process and, this is pretty cool, pretty easy. And then they drop through and go, okay, now we can start to use it for the clients that might need a little bit more advice. They might need a limited advice. So we want them to talk to an actual advisor. We want to take from the self-help to an advisor. And then they'll start to build out and go, well, actually, we could use this for our top-end clients, but let's start at the low, easy ones before we start saying it also solves something for your top-end clients, because once people start going down a journey, as you know, they start to use tech better and they start to use it and go, don't be so scared of it. This is just a way to engage clients and share your content and create better client experience. It's not about completely, people are afraid to onboard another system, right? I get that,
Yeah.
right? But this is pretty easy and impactful from day one. Yeah.
And particularly as from your session, my understanding is you guys really have taken a look at the way people interact with the social platforms we're already all using. So it's designed to feel familiar. That's part of the thing that's hard with some systems is they decide to be really innovative and different, but different is hard with tech because you just don't, it doesn't feel familiar, so it's got to just feel sort of normal and I can watch that video, no big deal, all of that can be easier. I mean, I can actually see a really interesting when I think through, so our practice is fully virtual. So we have to get very creative about the ways that we can help clients and because it's all done, from an arm's length and even having some explanations for some, things like nominated beneficiaries that people it's a struggle, right? It's a punish to get some of those things done, to have these little mini courses, on Scientiam to just go, okay, you've got a particular, platform X. Here are the things you need to do. Make sure you do this. The witnesses need to be like that, to just step somebody through.
Here's a little video, and it's just like those little, it's like, the kids watch these little YouTube videos or someone explaining stuff. It's exactly like that. So you're literally pointing in the spot where you need to sign it, fill this in, sign that section. This is what it all means. Here's the definition. So again, in a business where there's people explaining this all over the business to different people asking it all the time and just getting that consistency as well. But then clients have got this really, next time you go, here's the link. You just fill in this and it's nice and consistent and easier to understand.
It is. And it lets them act quickly. I think people worry that then, I'm flick passing them, I should be helping them with that or my senior admin person should be doing that. It's like, well, no, but it also, if they can't get that person, it also lets the client take action earlier because the person even on reception can go, hey, I'm going to send you this link. I reckon that'll get you started, but I'll make sure that whomever gives you a buzz to make sure you're okay. Like it just lets them continue, which we all love. Yeah, we all love getting that bit of extra information where it means, don't worry about calling me back. I'm on it. Like, I've got this covered, right?
Yeah.
So I think and what's nice about that is the rest of the team can be doing that content. They can just be grabbed once a week. I want you to record a video on this type of form, or any of that sort of stuff, which is
it's a great way to get the younger advisors engaged as well because they can really, they love this stuff, right? So they start playing with it and they're suddenly getting a nice front in front of clients about stuff as well, or it's just trying to give them that exposure, which in a more digital world is a bit harder for them. So now they can really have a lot of interaction, create a lot of videos, create a lot of the content and get that, so the clients see them a lot more as well. So it takes away that dependency.
Yeah, it does. And conversely, having, you could probably start to transition some of the more experienced advisors to doing some of the more, technical market updatey stuff. And that could just be content in the platform rather than something the client feels a need to necessarily having actual conversations with maybe their more junior advisor. It's that combo of all the skills in the team that can really be utilized. Yeah, Absolutely. It's exciting. So you mentioned the chat isn't used much. Is there any other features that you find that people don't use that you're surprised by? You're like, there's some gold there that people could be implementing?
It's more that chat bot sort of thing. We thought like having that chat body thing, but you can obviously chat within the platform too as a more chain sort of chat. So far, it's as you said at the start, it's about a coaching sort of development and starting to use. There's a lot of application. I think what we're scared about is giving people too broad a spectrum of things to talk about to start with. I try to, one of the things with any tech is it's just endless, right? You start to think, we could do this, do that, and right, let's just bring it down to, let's just do this one first. Let's just keep it simple. And then as you start to get to use it, then you'll see how you can easily add more video or things like that. People are a little bit scared of video, but once they see how easy it is, they get onto it. It's just a natural thing. Some people just get, I don't want to use video. I'm just going to put articles on there. Like everyone wants video, that you got to get them out of their comfort zone and say it's really easy. It takes you 2 seconds and clients love it. And it doesn't have to be perfect. Don't worry about the production quality of it. They just want to hear from you, and they want to see your voice. And I think that's where the people get stuck, that they have to wait for the right moment, and the sun's got to be here and the light's got to be here, and they've got to, it's on. They're on stage. It's like, no, don't worry about that. No. Just press the button and film.
In fact, we're at the point now with the way we absorb content that we're suspicious if video is overproduced.
I think so.
Right? Because it looks like an ad. Right? So our brain goes, wait a minute, that looks a bit slick. What's going on there? So it does need to feel a bit natural. And the sheer volume you can produce if you're doing video is like 10 times what you can if it's
so
written.
much quicker. Yeah.
It is.
And you can
it's
get
just
all the transcribed anyway.
Exactly. So it's just a matter of practice. Even if you forced, listener, if you force yourself just to start recording them, even if you don't release them yet, just start recording and practicing them. And then I guarantee you they're better than you think they are.
We're already waiting for. We've got a one take rule. We sort of say, just do one take to start with. Don't try and take 20 takes. The first take will be probably better than your second or third anyway. Just give it a go and just roll your sleeves up and give it a go. And no one likes hearing themselves back on tape either. They go, oh, do I sound like that? And things like that. They haven't done much video. So we all sound a bit weird. You just got to get on with it. And honestly, the audience isn't worried too much about that. They're just, they actually, you'll be surprised how your clients will love to see you, and they'll come into the next meeting or whatever and go, oh, wow, that, and you're constantly updating them rather than this old model of you might see them once or twice a year. So that client's been paying you quite a lot of money for many years and being used to seeing you once or twice a year, and they've paid that, and now they're going to see you once a fortnight they're going to go, this is amazing. And they do.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Just like, I mean, it's not, we don't all want to be influencers, but just like there's some people you love absorbing their content and you will absorb a lot of it once you find it on social media. This is the same. You're letting somebody absorb as much of your insights as they want to, and why not? How can that be a bad thing? This is a good thing.
Yeah. Advisors have got so much knowledge to share. We know that, right? We know how much advisors know about, whether it's just from behavioral finance to tax to super to investment allocation, all these sort of things that they just can't share in a conversation. Yeah. So by able to get that in lots of short grabs and their clients will go, wow, this advisor knows a lot more than I even knew. And there's so much stuff I can learn.
Yeah, without a doubt.
And being brave to share that, because some people go, well, if I share all that, then people won't need me. I'm going, they'll need you more. Don't worry. You can push all this content out. They can get it on a chat box, Chat.io or whatever now anyway, a lot of that stuff. And they know they're not going to probably use that for advice. But what they do want is a relationship. And just got to get used to that being a bit more of a digital relationship rather than just they have to come and see you face to face once a year.
Absolutely. And so in terms of integrations then, you mentioned that, of course, there can be links that take them through the clients through to, say, a form or anything like that. Are you at the point where you're integrating with anything yet, or is it early days?
Yeah, look, it's pretty early days, but it's built with an open architecture to, a tech team. I think we're really smart there from day one to say we can point to anything that wants to point to us. We did build in a link through to setting up small balance investment and super accounts, because that was asked for day one, saying, but now these clients are on here and then they're asking to open up an account, but I don't want to have to give them a $5,000 SOA. So we built that connection through, and that works straight through processing, so they can fill in the form, open up an account without, just on a general advice side saying I've filled that in. In terms of integrations to, the X plans and things like that, not yet. And if that was needed, then I'm sure those things are possible.
Look, and I guess the thing is people often focus on that first, when in reality there's a whole lot you've got to have done with the system and then set it up and make it part of your process, and when are you going to introduce it and all that sort of thing first. For this one, while I might focus on the integrations with others, I think for this type of tool, it can be the last thing. Because, that's a nice to have down the track. And I'm sure if somebody came to, if somebody's using it really actively and they've got loads of people on it and it's working like a treat, and then they come to you and go, hey, we'd like to talk about this integration, then you're going to be far more receptive to that at that point, because you can see, what they're looking for and the value it might add. So that makes a lot of sense to me. And like you say, I think you can still get clever about linking through to things. Yeah, you can. You can using links. Forms and exactly like that, embedded links can get you a long way there anyway. So what have you got on the development path? What's sort of coming down the line for you guys in the near future? But also, is there anything sort of way out there that you'd love to get to that would be the sort of ultimate point for the tool?
Yeah, it's a great question. We spent a lot of time sort of thinking about how do we get this sort of coaching / video type platform into the system, and that was a huge win for us. Really got that released only 6 weeks or so ago, and so that was the big thing. Like right now, that integration where we can have all that in one platform, the client experience the video, they can run courses, they can fill in forms, they can and set through and open up an account. I think down the track would be having multiple providers. So if at the moment we've only got one provider linked, if someone, so those small balances, if a big group came along and said, hey, all our clients are on Macquarie Wrap or Client First Aid, then that'd be great. But we haven't linked all that up yet. So that'd be next stage, but that'd be demand driven as well. If someone came along and said, we want to use a platform, but we wanted to talk to all our clients are on, for example, Client First Aid, then how can we do that? That'd be a next step stage.
Yeah, for sure. And is there anything, a big thing down the track? Like if this is really humming, is there anything that's a wish that you're not sure you guys could pull off just yet, but it's like, wouldn't it be great if? Like, is there anything like that on the list?
Yeah, I think the other services like, insurance is a little bit tricky at the moment. So we sort of held that off as well. And just, it's just a bit hard to do that online. And we've had this philosophy of keeping, not, as a low cost sort of offering, and we don't want to get caught up with too much complication there. So I think that would be nice in time. Being linking to accountants, for example, and having other service providers on there and be able to offer their sessions. I think that'd be really cool, and might be estate lawyers and accountants be able to
absolutely
also come in and share their content and share their ideas. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. So a real hub for what people might be interested in at that point in time. Because the thing is, for the public, they don't see any of that as different. The fact that we all need to be different bodies to be able to provide it, it's sort of in the same category for them. Yeah. So it makes sense for the end consumer that they could come to one place to do that. So
that'd be really
that
cool.
Makes a lot of sense. Is there anything we've missed? Any of the key features of Scientiam we've missed that?
Well, I think we've covered it all. Yeah, I think the key thing is just that it's just a real a different way to look at that client engagement to what we've been used to. And I think you know, Peter, where you said we used to start with advice. We're starting with that pre-advice, and we're starting to engage and build that trust with knowledge and content before they need the full, traditional advice model. So I think if we can give advisors the ability to offer that, and we say in a crazy way, wouldn't it be great if advisors could help 1,000 people and they think I'm mad? But I go, it actually is possible, and you could do it. You could make more money, help more people, make a bigger impact on their lives, and it's not going to mean you've got to work 100 hours a day. It is possible. There's some really cool digital tools, and it's only going to get better. That's a better outcome for the end consumer. It's a better outcome for the advice businesses who want to do that. And I think luckily plenty seem interested to get out there and start to reach out and use digital differently to perhaps how the industry has addressed digital in the past, where they've sort of looked at it more as a back end solution.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an exciting new world if you can think a bit creatively, right? You can sort of got to throw out the old way we've done things and just look at it as an end user and try to think about what they really want. And that's when this will hum. Yeah,
actually the ASX pushed out a report this week, which was really interesting. And they're the most, for all their ASX style investors, the highest or the most popular search for an ASX investor, so someone who's got listed shares or ETFs, was on YouTube. So we've got to get people advice to control their content a bit. Yeah.
Absolutely. I completely agree. All right, Advice Explorers, if you'd like to find out more about Scientiam, then the website link is in the episode show notes, along with Nigel's LinkedIn details. I'm sure he can then point you to a member of the team that can help you out if you were to reach out and connect with him. Thank you so much for joining us here today, Nigel. I really enjoyed that, and sharing how Scientiam can help us see far more clients and engage with far more of the public. I really love it. It's what we should all be doing more of. So thank you so much for your time. So, are you a current user of Scientiam? Now, that's fairly early days for them, but you may be. Your practice may be one of the early people that have tried this out and started to implement it. I'd love to hear what you found has worked, how your prospects or your clients have engaged with it, and, how that's worked for you, what was good, what was a struggle, what you had to learn, all that sort of thing. Please share your insights on the Ensemble community platform, as all of us would love to hear about all this different tech. One of the most asked questions on the Ensemble platform is about a particular piece of tech, or how do I implement it? Should I, shouldn't I? So the more we can all be just putting our views on there and sharing our insights, then the more value we can collectively bring together. And we're even using those posts and the way you guys all share with each other to define who we get on the podcast, what content we provide, and how we provide it. So I'd really encourage you to get on there and give us that feedback. Now, my thoughts on this. Now, I should admit upfront that I am a big believer in coaching and facilitation being a new world for advice. I think going forward, there's going to be a lot of advice practices that head firmly in this way. There's going to be some that are going to become deeply technical And they're going to become experts in a particular technical thing. But I think there's going to be a lot of advice practices that provide a lot of coaching. And when I say what I mean by coaching, it will be an element of some one-to-many programs. Then it may even be one-to-one, but it's a defined experience over 9 months or something like that. And then there may be some advice, some specific, requires written advice style of offer. So this is a different way of thinking, and it requires you to start actually experiencing online programs. If you've never done an online program, I don't mean about advice. I mean about anything, Facebook ads or how to use Instagram or like whatever you like. If you need to have started to absorb those yourself, so that you can then understand what works and what doesn't. One of the insights I wanted to make sure I shared here was information generally for a course or a program or something like that, no matter how short or long, generally isn't enough. It needs to be a transformation, even if it's a small one. And a transformation generally is the consumer taking some actions. Even if it's make sure you download your super report, or make sure you give them some actions they can take so that at the end of even if it's just 3 videos they watch, at the end of that, they feel like they've got a result and they are further ahead than they were when they started. So delivering a transformation and therefore providing actions as part of the program that we design is really important. And I only learned that by going and doing a whole lot of programs. Sitting and absorbing over and over again just pure information is mind-numbing. And you don't actually learn anything because you don't get to implement it yourself. So it really needs to give you some to-dos as part of it. So it encourages you to just park that as something you're going to need to keep in mind going forward, but absolutely go. And if there's something you need to learn about business or something external, start to engage with some online programs so you can get better at working out what you could deliver to the public that relates to advice. One of the ways that we've done this, that we're looking at for our niche market, is doing some market research conversations. So I've done some video calls. I've had about 5 or 6 prospects, all current clients, but they're in a particular category that we're interested in. And I just asked them questions about what they're struggling with. Now, this is a ninja tip here, folks. The trick here is not to make it just about money, right? To ask things like, what's keeping you up at night? What is the thing you're facing the most struggle with right now that's just, it's like it's so hard, you can't get over this hurdle? And invariably, no matter what it is, it'll invariably relate back to money at some point, right? So you've got to ask those questions to then work out the next best thing that you could do one of these online, on something like Scientiam, one of these online programs, because you could do a short program there that solved that problem for them, even if it didn't have financial advice as the next step necessarily. But what they've done is they've engaged with you, you've shown insight, you've given them a path to take maybe, or a roadmap, and they've made some great progress. And then, hey, the next thing you could look at is, and then we can help you with. So, just helping them solve a problem. And it can be big or small. Often the small ones like if you can just knock something off really quickly for them and help them get it done, are huge winners. Those are lead generation tools. And the thing I'm learning with some of these tools is it's, if somebody's paying for a program, even if it's only a few $100s, it's like they're paying for you to market to them. I mean, that sounds all right, right? We could spend a fortune maybe paying Facebook or all these places to promote us to try and get clicks and to get leads, or somebody could be doing a program that adds real value to them. It helps them self-qualify of whether they need us as an advisor, and that gives us an opportunity to showcase who we are, and they can engage with us as an individual. So I just think there's some real gems in all of that, of the way we can change the way we think about these things. It's taken me time to get to that point, I will admit, and it is a learning process. But the more we can sort of put ourselves in our client's shoes and behave, notice how you behave with external things you're learning about, and you'll start to realize how we as advisors can do things differently to engage with the public. Now, as you know, there's only one skill you need to become a bionic advisor, and that's avid curiosity. So to help you build that habit, today's Curiosity Corner app, oh my goodness, I don't think I've ever had an episode with as many tongue twisters as today's episode. Sincere apologies, folks. Let's try that again. Today's Curiosity Corner app, woohoo, we did it, that I wanted to take a look at is called Early Bird. You can find it at earlybird.im. Now, this is interesting. Given what we were just talking about, and maybe you're a bit uncertain and you're not sure something's going to be valuable, Early Bird is actually a no-code landing page builder, right? So this helps you very quickly build, pitch, and validate a business idea. Now, in its normal use case, it's used by developers or creative content influencers, marketers, maybe somebody writing a book, all sorts of things that you can use to create this sort of landing page pitch document, right? Now, why would I think that could apply to advisors? Well, this could be how you get feedback on the next problem your clients might be facing, on the coaching offer you might be building, the program you might be pulling together, or even a new advice offer, something that just is tailored to a particular thing you think that your audience or your clients might need, but you're not quite sure, right? So the idea here is to really validate that idea before actually building it out. So I know it's a bit reverse for what we do in finance. In finance, often, even the big product providers spend millions of dollars building something, release it to advisors, and then we all go, oh, no, that's not what I need, right? So this is flipping the script here. This is saying, this is the concept. I've fleshed out the benefits. Here's the outline of what it is. Are you interested? And see, based on the volume of interest and the level of interest, then you go hard and you build it at that point. What they've done is dug into all the sort of psychology of high converting landing pages. And if you're not sure what a landing page is, it's basically that single page website that just pitches a particular thing. It could be a webinar you're going to, it could be a conference, it could be like whatever it is. You've definitely clicked on a landing page yourself. So it's tailored to a unique thing, widget, experience, program, course. So they've actually dug into all that psychology of what works and what people need as information to be able to engage with those. And then so you don't have to try and work out what you should add or not. It just steps you through that. I think it's an interesting concept and probably something that we as advisors don't really think we use much, but I wonder if we tested a bit more about the sort of things we could offer to even our current clients and got their feedback on that through just seeing what they clicked on or what they registered for, then, we might be able to really deliver something that we know is going to hum, really give them value. So check it out, and I'd love to hear what you think. Well, that's all we've got for this week, folks. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you'll get your AdviceTech fix automatically sent to you each Friday. And if you feel like you are a bit stuck and, maybe like everybody else, 2023 has been the fastest possible year ever of all time, craziness. You've got some projects, maybe including some tech projects that you're going to need to embark on, and you just want to take a step back and do some planning for the year ahead, then I would love to facilitate a brainstorming session for you and your team, drawing out the next best projects for the business, what tech might assist, how you can all work together to innovate with the practice. This can be in person, and it'll be a really productive and enjoyable day for the team. So if that's of interest, please reach out to me on LinkedIn /PeitaMD, PEITAMD. Otherwise, I'll look forward to turning up in your earbuds next week. Who knows whether it'll be with puppies in the background or not? We can always hope. So remember, Advice Explorers, stay curious.